I think he's lost his arms. Okay, base dampening, back in action. This is where we were just before I fell. Yeah, it seems that we are able to knock out one of them at a time, so maybe this is the final version, or the final boss fight. Maybe I don't need to be that cautious anymore. I don't expect us to be able to stun lock him. Let's get going with Cluster. We don't really seem to be doing more damage, honestly. So just the base sticks seems to be doing as much damage to him as everything else that we've tried. But I can do stuff such as this. Okay, he's way less scary. Well, we have removed them and we have one more level up. I don't know if we have to expect anything else, but I'm throwing everything into transfer rate. Why did I throw everything into transport rate? Yeah. Nah, who cares?
Output readings appear normal. Data transfer is complete. Mathria, bring my son home.
It's time, Jet. LM1 is waiting for you.
I've got to transfer Mathria to my computer before the server crashes. I'm encrypting her code, so no one can get at her again.
What about Mercury? Is she off the system?
I don't show Mercury anywhere on the server. She's safe.
Just in time.
We did it.
Yes, you certainly did. But you two will pay for...
We'll deal with that later. I'm proud of you, Jet.
The FCON team. What'll happen to them?
I may be able to correct the mess they got themselves into. It'll take some time, but there's no hurry.
This whole life inside the computer experience has really opened my eyes. I'll never drop another laptop as long as I live. Hey, Dad, you think I could get a copy of that Mercury program? I need a good screensaver.
Well there, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. We have finished the game on version 10.0 with all the build notes. I possibly missed some emails and subroutines here and there, and I'm pretty sure I missed one of the code optimization wares, though that may also not be the case. I'm just not sure. Now that the game has finished, I want to talk about a couple of notes that I made. This is recorded after everything happened, and I have taken a day to think about it for a bit, so here's my own thoughts while the credits are running on the game. I enjoyed it a whole lot. I checked. The first time that I played it was on Christmas Day of 2015, it looks like. And since then, I have had the game in the back of my mind. I knew I didn't finish it. I wanted to finish it. I enjoyed it, but I hadn't until this point. And I thought, you know, if you're playing this and you're uploading YouTube videos, why don't you go ahead and upload that as well? And I'm glad I did. And I hope that everybody who watched it and listened to it enjoyed it as well. Now, what I didn't really enjoy, but that's on me, was simply failing the recording multiple times. I recorded and either I lost save data, or I recorded in the wrong way, or I just didn't record at all and just thought I hit record. Sort of rites of passage, I suppose, for Let's Players. I'm going through those as well, and I listened back to my own recordings and just noticed these super repetitive speech patterns that I have. I frankly think that I'm obnoxious to listen to, but yeah, that also is something that simply comes with the time that you do these things. You need to learn to stop the and the so's and the now let's and similar, but that's, I think, given time, that should align itself. Apart from repeating the same levels, sometimes up to 5 times or something like that, I had a lot of fun throughout the entire game. And once I got to the final stage, the final level, the data drive of FCON, I just had a blast, literally nuking enemies. That's kind of my segue into the gameplay. I really enjoyed the final weapon. You get it on the last level, it absolutely wrecks enemies, it's a huge AoE blast, it's so much fun, it's so satisfying, blowing up the enemies. Marvelous. Apart from that, the weapon balance, let's be honest, LOL, way overpowered, Drunken Dimps, way overpowered, Blaster, way underpowered, Energy Claw, simply too much of an edge case to reliably use. I mean, you could just draw all of the energy out of that one enemy you left over, but you could also just go back and resupply at any of the infinite energy patch routines. That said, yeah, I like it. Also, the difficulty was really good. It was fair enough, even without any upgrades or any, any version points, whatever, invested. You would still survive about 1 or 2 hits. And once the armor scaling really kicked in and you got more health, the way that I leveled Jet, you just had a lot of health to play with. And that's it. The bosses and the data raves, the final enemy type that you see, basically apart from bosses of course, they really do a whole lot of damage. And that's just fair because you are very tanky and they do a lot of damage, but so do you as well because your weapons are also very powerful. So I think that insane difficulty is not really insane. I don't think it deserves that label, but it's fair. It's absolutely fair if you are decent at the game. You just have to reload a lot. Boss fights again, they are very, very scary in some ways. I wasn't sure whether I would be able to complete them, especially the second Seeker was pretty difficult, but that's something that I like. I like that they threw in the ads, the data raves and previously the resource hogs. The data raves prevented you from simply camping a spot, same with the resource hogs. You couldn't just camp in one area and have your disc do all the work as you slowly kite the boss into submission. The only boss that this was possible with is the final boss, which is quite ironic, but yeah. The kernel forces you to just use your disc, and there's no part of the platform that he can't get to. He's properly scary, and you can beat him with just your disc. There's a good amount of blocking involved and a good amount of movement. And with the other boss fights, you have to trade efficiently, take the ads out very quickly, possibly stun lock the boss or hide in a corner. Always having to watch over your back in the second Seeker fight, simply so that there's not a data wave appearing next to you and just annihilating you from behind. Talking a bit about the story now. I think that the game has really great world building. The levels look amazing. I know that the graphics is not up to the standards that we are used 20 years after, but I don't even remotely care. The game has its own style and really makes it shine. The game looks very good in my mind, and the levels support the story. The emails and video files just give so much information about what is going on in the real world. They drip feed information at the right time about things that are close to the future that you will encounter, things that are happening right now, or given that some of the systems have been offline, for example, the Thorn's PDA, the laptop from Alan, or even the biggest one being the EN12-82, I believe the number was, where you find the emails from about 20 years back of the game's time about the Tron legacy code that just absolutely makes sense. It's always something that relates to your current progress in the story and often something that is going on in reality right now. The cutscenes support not, well, I don't know. They kind of support each other. The emails and the video files and the cutscenes between levels, they all support each other. And I think it's just a lot of good world building. The other part that is character building, I think is kind of lackluster, to be honest. Jet is a fully fledged character. So is Alan. And I'm guessing somewhat Mithria as well. But let's be honest, Mercury, who kind of looks and has the flair of a main character, is a main character that doesn't exist in the story for about 80+% of the game, and I just really don't like it. Also, there is a couple of really, I think, somewhat bad plot holes. Like, for example, the final scene sees us, Alan and his father, now basically reunited after having been cold for what probably is a decade, something in that along those lines. After a decade of being cold towards each other, they have finally grown back together as a family, and in this case as well as fellow programmers, I think. And they are just walking outside the building that is considered hostile territory because it is owned by EFCON. They have their own guys, their own security, their own staff, their own everything in there. The building is potentially full of data raves who haven't been digitized yet, and they're just walking out. Makes absolutely no sense to me. Also, let's not talk about the heroic return that makes absolutely no sense, which is Mercury. In one scene, we see that the tech guy is trying, or rather that Crown, I believe, was trying to order the tech guy to see who accessed Alan's lab and who might have gotten digitized when they realized that someone in there was kicking out all of their data raves. And yeah, the entire hard drive was formatted. There was no way to return the data. But somehow, Alan from the inside just miraculously whipped up a current version with the memories of Mercury. How? Makes no sense to me either. And then there's a couple of transitions that are kind of questionable. Like, for example, we get routed from Mercury, or by Mercury, from the exit port towards sort of the building plan, where Jet unlocks the lock that keeps Alan in the storeroom. And then the next moment we wake up after Alan has gotten digitized, we are with him on Thorn's partition. How? No explanation. I kinda don't like that. But other than that, the great world building and the sort of main character arc that is Jet, previously distant to his father, through the common experience and all the trials and tribulations, growing more close to him once more. I think that is a good story, and it's a very decent story. It's a believable character as well that you can absolutely see in reality. Someone who is very clever, but his smarts are not necessarily for his own benefit and the benefit of the people who have to live with him. Let's call it that way. Now, there is one last major item that I want to mention, or group of items, I suppose. It is the bugs of the game. There were a couple bugs, but none of them bad enough for me to quit the game. The one thing that made me quit the game last time wasn't actually bugs and glitches. It was simply being unable to return to a level and missing a build node there and being so perfectionist that I didn't want to finish the game, but I also apparently didn't care about it enough at the time to restart from scratch. The bugs that kind of were the worst were the crashes near the end, but we could always load the most recent saves, and since you autosave in the game all the time, especially on insane difficulty, you really have a very small amount only to lose with each crash. There are a couple of other bad bugs, like for example the warping archive bin. No idea why that happened, even now. The platforms not really affecting the player movement in the way that the platform moved at all times. We were able to glitch through platforms, slide off them, that kind of stuff. The one wall where the Seeker was able to shoot through was really annoying. I guess it is a visual wall, but has no collision for projectiles for some reason. Then a couple of cutscenes where Jet is in the floor, annoying, but really the smallest out of all of these, I would say. And there are apparently ways to soft lock your own movement, but again, you can just load. So that's not really a big issue. So overall, I think that the bugs in the game exist, but they are minor, and they can absolutely be dealt with. So now, looking back on all of this, what would I rate this game? I think I would rate it at about 80% score. The story being a bit disjointed, Mercury being a weird element of the story that takes away from it, but the world building, the gameplay, everything else is absolutely solid, even in 2023. And I love the game. I very much enjoyed it, and I intend to continue playing the games and putting the videos up, and I hope that you, as a listener and watcher, will join me next time as well.